Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So of course this is your match preview for Newcastle versus Arsenal at the weekend. Of course on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff as Newcastle take on Arsenal at St James's Park. Now Newcastle are going into this game unbeaten in the last 6 Premier League games. We are flying high right now with the way we are playing football. We've just knocked Man United out of the League Cup last night at Old Trafford with a B team against Man United's first team and convincingly knocking them out of the Cup as well. Now we're coming to this game at the weekend against Arsenal. Obviously, we've got injury worries like most teams in the Premier League. We are missing quite a few big names in the team, the likes of Alexander Isak, Sven Botman, of course, Sandro Tonali and Harvey Barnes as well. But we're going into this game, with them players missing, but we are still going into this game in high hopes of coming away from this game at the weekend with the 3 points in the bag. Now, looking at the way Arsenal have been playing, of course, Luca from Luca AFC will be, of course, giving his thoughts on how Arsenal has been playing, but my thoughts on how Arsenal's been playing so far this season. They've had some okay games and they've got a reasonable bit of form going, but ahead of their visit to St James's Park, they were, of course, beaten last night in the League Cup by West Ham. They were beaten 3-1 by West Ham at, of course, West Ham's ground. And, of course, they are no longer in the League Cup, so that is them out of the League Cup. In the Premier League, however, this season, Arsenal remain unbeaten with 7 victories and 3 draws on the road. They've won at Palace, Everton and Bournemouth without conceding a goal before they were held to a 2-2 at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. They've had some wins against some other teams in there as well. But looking at it, I've got to say, I really do believe Arsenal will have some trouble at St James's Park, like we've seen them have in the past when they came here. Of course, not last season, but the season beforehand when they came to St James's Park and they were trying to get into the Champions League spots, and they ended up missing out, of course, thanks to us beating them 2-0. An own goal, of course, by their own player, Ben White, who isn't having a great time of things at the moment for Arsenal. And quite a few Arsenal fans are having problems with him as well, being the way he's playing. But they came to St James's Park that day. They ended up on the end of a 2-0 defeat, and they ended up not getting Champions League football. Of course, the other scorer in that game was Bruno Guimaraes with the goal. Last season, however, they came to St James's Park and they came away from St James's Park with a 2-0 win against us. But I think, it is going to be a tight game at the weekend in this 5:30 kickoff, and it's live on Sky Sports as well. So, of course, it'll be interesting to see, how the pundits see this game going. It is going to be an interesting game. The referee for the game will be Stuart Atwell. It is the 3rd appearance this season in the middle for, of course, Newcastle's games from the Whistler from Warwickshire, following on from a 3-1 loss against Brighton, with 8-0 humbling of Sheffield United, who we absolutely humbled at, of course, Bramall Lane. And on VAR it will be Andy Madley, brother of Bobby Madley, of course. So hopefully Andy Madley doesn't have to get involved too much in the game. But I've seen, of course, in the past games where VAR, had times they could have done stuff and they haven't done it. But here I'll now hand you over to, of course, Luca, who will talk about the Arsenal side of things and how he thinks Arsenal have been doing this season.
Hi, this is Luke at AFC here, and today, of course, I'm going to be recording you my preview for Arsenal versus Newcastle. Of course, Arsenal have been knocked out of the Carabao Cup, which is a very, very disappointing. Yet again, the manager has now given up on another trophy, losing 3-1 to West Ham United. But now, if you guys are new to the channel, this is an opposition preview to 100% Mags, as Arsenal do take on Newcastle on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff at St James's Park. So the first question I'm going to give to you right now is my expectations for Arsenal this season. Of course, we're at the Carabao Cup, very disappointed. I felt like that could have actually been an opportunity to go on and win a trophy. The quarter-final Carabao Cup draw was just made tonight. Port Vale, League One side, have got Middlesbrough. Chelsea have got Newcastle. Liverpool have West Ham. So it was an opportunity for Arsenal. When I looked at that draw, I felt Arsenal could have actually gone on and actually maybe go to Wembley. But that's, of course, we have to put that onto the side. But thoughts on for Arsenal this season is that I want to win the league this season. And that's the thing with Arsenal. And now, of course, we've gone out of the Carabao Cup, which is very disappointing. We've got big games coming up. And, of course, we're unbeaten in the league. Of course, we do take on Newcastle on Saturday. I think it's going to be a tough game. I really do. Because I look at it, you guys, of course, not on the greatest form. But St James's Park, you've had some pretty good results. You've beaten big teams. You've picked up results against AC Milan. You've beaten Paris Saint-Germain. Okay, you lost to Borussia Dortmund. For us this season, we're not playing very well, but we're second or third in the league. And I think this season for Arsenal, we've spent 200 million in the summer. I think we've had a good transfer window, not going to lie. But Edu has done well, but I just feel like in January, we're going to need a centre forward. My expectations for January, we're looking at Ivan Toney. Brentford come out in the mittens, did a statement on Sky Sources and said Brentford are willing to ask 100 million. For me, would Arsenal go out and spend that type of money? No, I don't. But I feel in January, we need a centre forward. Jesus is now out until pretty much November, December. Partey is now injured, so we're going to need a long-term midfielder. But I think in January, we're going to need a backup to Bukayo Saka. So I think Arsenal need to bring at least a striker and a backup to Bukayo Saka. But that's my expectations. And the aim for this season, for Arteta, he has to win a trophy this season. If he doesn't win a trophy this season, I think it's sackable offence. If he gets second and wins a trophy, that's a great season for Arsenal. That is a great season because you're added in the same position where you finished last season and you've added a trophy onto it and FA Cup. But I want to win the league this season. I want to win the Premier League. And I think in January we should go all out and go and get Ivan Toney. I think he's the missing final piece. But would Arsenal go out and go all out and spend that type of money? I think it's more leading up to the summer. Would Toney more likely would go to Chelsea because Chelsea like to spend big? And I feel like he would actually fit Chelsea as well. But time will tell. Time will tell. Thoughts on Newcastle season this season? I think you guys have had an all-right season. I think the last few games you've kind of like dropped a little bit. You've dropped points against the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers. You lost to Liverpool this season, which I think Newcastle were the better team. I felt when Van Dijk got sent off, Darwin Núñez came on in that game and he kind of like ripped you apart in that second half. I think you've had some good players. I think you've had a good transfer window. Of course, you've got the likes of injuries-wise, like Isaacs are now out injured. You've got Botman out injured. So you've got quite a few players out injured. And I know you are in the next round of the Carabao Cup. You've got Chelsea away, which I do think you probably could win that and get to the semi-finals. Because it's an opportunity for you guys. And I think the aim for this season for Newcastle is go far in the Champions League. You need to win a trophy this season. I thought you were getting to the final, which was a very good deserve, losing to Manchester United. Very unlucky to lose that final. But I think for this season, I think you guys need to win a trophy this season. I think you guys could get top four maybe, but hopefully you can get Isaac back before January, because he is a massive, massive blow for you guys, and he's been doing very, very, very well. He's a great player for Newcastle. Didn't rate him when he was when we were linked with him, because he only scored about 4 goals for Sociedad, but he's actually managed to fit well. And I know Newcastle are missing the likes of Tonali and that, but you've still got some good players. You've still got Bruno Guimaraes, you've still got Anthony Gordon, you've still got Murphy, you've still got Trippier. You've got some experienced players in there, and I think you guys. Do I think you guys will get Champions League football this season? I think you'll just miss out because you might have Europe, which is kind of affecting you. I think you guys do make top 6 this season. I really do. But who knows? You might get top 4 again. You might get top 4. What do I think about your latest takeover? For me, to ask you the question to you, 100% Mags, what is your latest takeover odds? Because how's it going at the moment? Because when you first got the takeover, you guys were so excited. You bought some players in. You got top 4. Had a very good season. You had one of the best defensive partnerships last season. I remember the game when we played you at the Emirates, 0-0. We should have had a penalty in the end. I remember from Granit Xhaka, and then we beat you at St James's Park last season, which I was very surprised. But your takeover's doing all right, man. It's doing very, very, very well. It's about time you actually got a takeover now. And I want to ask another question. What is your latest training ground facilities and all that stuff going wrong about the sponsorship? What's going on around that club? I would like to know. And yeah, my team lineup, what I would go for, and score prediction is the final thing I will say. Lineup, I'd have to go with Aaron Ramsdale. I thought the West Ham game in the Carabao Cup the other night. Okay, yes, there was a moment in that game where before West Ham got those 2 goals, Ramsdale saved a shot from soon straight away as the second half kicked off in the 46th minute. Ramsdale made the save, and Ben White cleared it out of the display before, I think it was Mohamed Kudus was coming forward, or Lucas Paqueta to try and score that second. But for some of the keepers this season, I think, look, David Raya has been the number 1 goalkeeper for some time for Arsenal, but I felt dropping Aaron Ramsdale was a big, big, big mistake. And I know tonight he didn't do well against West Ham, but I felt like he was very under pressured. But Ramsdale was the better keeper. He did save one moment when it mattered. So I would start Ramsdale on Saturday. Right back, I've got to go with Ben White again. Had a poor game against West Ham, but I'm sure he will redeem himself and have a better performance. Centre half, of course, Saliba and Gabriel. Left back, got to bring Tomiyasu back in. Zinchenko had a poor game. In the midfield, I've got to go with Declan Rice. If Zinchenko is going to play any part of midfield, I put him in a number 8 role. But I wouldn't play him in a game like against Newcastle, because I think when you've got people like Guimaraes in midfield are going to cause a lot of problems. I think Zinchenko will find it really difficult. So I'd go with Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard. Up front, I go with Bukayo Saka. Have to go with Eddie Nketiah for no reason. And then Martinelli. So that's my 1 to 11. And score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I don't feel confident going into Newcastle. I really don't know why. I think you guys could step up. It's a hostile ground. And 100% Mags, thank you very much for obviously doing an opposition preview. Please do give 100% Mags a massive, massive subscribe on the channel. Absolutely amazing Newcastle content. Gives you everything, the latest news around the takeover, training ground, everything. And thank you very much for this opposition preview.
So that is, of course, what Luca thinks about how Arsenal have been doing this season, and also his thoughts as well on the game at the weekend. Also, of course, my score prediction going into this game at the weekend. Like I've said, it is going to be a pretty tight game, and I am sticking to that. I am also going to go with a score prediction of Newcastle to come away from this game 2-1 winners against Arsenal. If you want to hear my thoughts, of course, over on Luca's channel, then go check it out at Luca AFC. I will put the link down in the description below. I'm also, of course, sending over my thoughts to Josh over at True Gunner. If you want to go check out his channel, of course, then I will put that also down in the description below, or pin it to the comments section for you guys to go check out their channels. Make sure to go over to their channels as well if you do, and hit a like, share and subscribe on their content. Two really great lads and two really good content creators on the Arsenal content creating scene. And as for my channel, please do consider hitting the like, share and subscribe, as I'm on the road to 2k subscribers. Only 84 subscribers, I believe it is, away from hitting the 2k mark, so not that many to go. Hopefully we can hit that by the end of this month. That would be absolutely amazing. And until next time, I'll see you all for the match reaction after the game of the weekend. And how are the lads?